Hey guys, PDC back here for another upload. This is going to be the Gen 5 second game of the series. I'm sure you can recognize the team I'm using. It is the Masterclass Brayloon team slash Mew, which we used a lot. I think we used like two separate versions of it in SPL when we run, when that was going on. He was on the scooters. And I'm sure it's pretty recognizable as it was copied because of just how solid it was. But if there's one thing that bothers this team, it's a team that Smogon Hellraiser is using, which is Sun, especially Dougie's son. I was really worried he was going to use this, and what do you know? He used it. As soon as I saw this matchup, a little part of me died because, well, this was like the last thing I wanted to face. I really wanted to face Hyper Offense or Sand Balance or Sand Offense. The only thing worse than this team that I'm facing right there would have been probably something like an Analytics Starmie offense in the rain with like Recover and Double Dance Thunderous. That would have probably been, or Extra Bell Thunderous. That would have probably been the only thing worse, since that team is, well, I would have been a basic flat out counter team. I tried to use a team that was not as expected, because I'm usually known in black and white for an offense guy, so I figured to slow it down a bit and use this team. But anyway, let's look at the teams. Smogon obviously has an advantage here with the Dugtrio Sun, the trapping on the Heatran and the Tyranitar, and just in general the powerful Volcarona, the Venusaur sweepers. At least that's all the sweepers we know. We don't know about Heatran. And I have the solid Masterclass team, rather meant for handling things like Sand Offense, or Balance, or Hyper Offense, or Weatherless, or Stall teams, because of the Mew. It's a pretty good team. It's a pretty, I would even say uneven game. Smogon obviously has an advantage. If he traps Heatran, then I'm in big trouble. Venusaur is going to wreck me, and I did not really predict the outcome of this game. I really thought I was going to lose. And as you'll see, let's just say this game is a little strange, and it kind of shows how messed up, it kind of shows how good this team is. Not messed up, this game is. I don't know what I'm saying. Although this game is pretty messed up. Without further ado, let's go. So he's going to go ahead and lead with his Keldeo check Venusaur. I guess, I don't know, maybe he was expecting me to use Keldeo, but I do use Keldeo a lot. And I lead with my Scarf Landorus. I realize he's going to sleep something, so I go straight out for the U-turn. And I get to go out to the most useless thing on my team, which is Mew. Mew does nothing. Mew never does anything versus Sun. At least that's how I feel. Unless it's like a specially defensive Mew, which is built to like take sludge bombs and stuff, which people have used. At this point, I'm kind of just like, wait a minute, what is Mew doing for me? I don't really have a good switch into this thing, and I was really paranoid of Dugtrio, because obviously, if he gets Dugtrio on Heatran early, then I don't have anything to stop a Venusaur. I know Badass really scolded me for just sacking Mew like this, but did I really have an option? Now, I do get lucky and I wake up and get the Ice Beam, and that cripples Venusaur for the rest of the game with that nice damage. Even if he Giga Drains here, he's still not going to be bulky enough to reliably switch in and out and tank things like, Scalds or ignore the sand damage and stuff like that. It's just, he's not going to be able to do that. I go into my Starmie, and I'm going to go straight up for the Psyshock, and I'm predicting him to probably go into something like Ninetales, because he obviously knows on the defensive, and if he's a bulky Ninetales, he's not going to take too much, but he takes a solid 35%, and that's decent enough for me to, I'm like, okay, this is not that hard to break his weather user, and my Terminator is still 100%. So he goes back to his Heatran, and I'm going to go ahead and go for another Psyshock, because, what do I have to lose? And his balloon is broken. That's good, as now I can hit it with stuff like Landorus EQs, and I don't need to worry about him being the Landorus counter on the team. It's always annoying when you think that you're going to sweep a person with Earthquake, and then you get, a balloon. So I go to my Tyranitar, easily going to be able to tank whatever that Heatran and throw at him, and he goes out to his Donphan. Now, I go out because, I don't want to be trapped by Dugtrio, and I go out to my Starmie. Starmie's actually doing work against the Sun team. I was really surprised at how good this thing was doing. Honestly, I should not have, disregarded it. I was just looking at this team, aside from Venusaur, Starmie does work. But I go for the side shot because I know he's going to switch. He's not going to get one of that Scalded, and I'm, bulky, so I'm not going to be taking too much of an Earthquake, and he doesn't want Donphan to be weak because it's a spinner and it's Volcarona. And I go for the side shock, and this leaves Ninetales at 42%. That's pretty weak. Now I go for another Side Shock, and Heatran is slowly getting, weakened down. It's not as bulky as it was. Not that healthy. I switch out to my Starmie, and I go out to my Tyranitar. I'm still constantly paranoid of that horrible Dugtrio switch, which might happen. And he goes into his Venusaur. And this is not that bad. The worst that he can do is Sleep Powder me, and I'm not really that paranoid. He goes ahead and goes for a Sleep Powder on the Tyranitar, but as you can see, Venusaur is not very bulky. He's not really, not that high. And here is where I make a play that I honestly, yes, this is it. I make a play that I was pretty proud of. I'm like, okay, so he's going to go to either Dugtrio or something else here. So I go out and I switch to my Landorus and get a good advantage on that Volcarona. I realize that he has no ground resist, and I'm guessing because it is Sogeking, that's a more lightly built Donphan, so I can do like 30% to it. I go for the Earthquake, and he has a Citrus Berry, and he Fire Blast. I was not expecting Fire Blast to KO. I was expecting like 95%, but that was a blunder. I was shocked at how I was just in such a disadvantage here. I was just like, wow, I think I'm going to lose this. I mean, what do I really have to combat him? I have Heatran and Starmie, but he has a Dugtrio. I go ahead and I'm going to go for the Scald. Now, the Scald is doing 56% that Heatran. Heatran is basically dead already. Now, this is actually a Flame Charge Heatran set. I can tell by the lack of item, and it's obviously not bulky enough to be a Shed Shell variant. And I'm just going to go ahead and go for the Scald again, but I get lucky and I get a crit, and his Weather User is gone. Ninetales is dead, meaning he's not going to do the Chlorophyll me at Venusaur anymore. So I just go ahead and I'm like, okay, well, what am I really going to do here? I'm just going to go out to, either Heatran or Tyranitar, but I don't want Heatran to be trapped, because that'd be like the worst case scenario, because my only check will be a sleeping Tyranitar. So I do go out to Tyranitar, and I knew he was going to trap me with Dugtrio. I knew it was coming. And I'm in a, I'm like, oh my god, this is like it. What am I going to do? He kills my Tyranitar, but Sand is up forever now. At least I think it is. I'm like, okay, what if he has like Sunny Day something? And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. No, there's no way he has Sunny Day. I go to my Braylon because I want to sleep something and demobilize something. And I figure he's going to let his weakest, Pokemon sleep, which is his Venusaur. That's not really that beneficial to me, but it's always good to have something that you know is just not going to be able to hurt you, and at least if you're lucky and get a long-term sleep. So now, I'm just like, alright, what am I going to do here? How am I going to be able to win this game? He goes out to his Heatran here, and I go and switch out to my Starmie. I actually am like, okay, wait a minute, doesn't Starmie just flat out sweep him here? I know I'm bulky enough to take a Dugtrio's Earthquake, and I'm just gonna Scald him. So I go for the Scald, and Heatran's down, and Venusaur is sleeping, and Volcarona is gonna die from Scald. He really has only 2 Pokemon that he has that beat this Starmie, and I think that, this is a turning point here. What is he gonna do? I go for the Scald here as he Earthquakes, and as you can tell, I'm beyond bulky enough to tank that. I tank it easily. I'm hoping for the burn here so I don't have to deal with a Recover game, or an Ice Shard game, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is going really good. And he Earthquakes here again, and to make sure I don't die to Ice Shard, I go for a Recover here. And honestly, looking back, it was kind of stupid, because BKC's like, did you really think you were going to die from an Ice Shard? And I'm like, I don't know, I was too lazy to calc. So as you can tell, now I'm like, alright, I'm going to comfortably be able to survive any Ice Shard, even from Offensive Max Attack Donphan, and I think even if it crits, I might live, depending on my spread. But anyway, his really only, thing he can send out here is his Donphan, and this is getting, I'm like, wait a minute, I can win. So I go for the Scald, I'm hoping for a burn again, so Braylon is going to have an easier time, and he Earthquakes, and I don't get the burn. And Starmie goes down. Sadly, I wish Starmie didn't have to die. He was a really good player. He was probably the best Pokemon in the entire game. But now, it's time for the most unexpected Sun player to get a victory, and that is Braylon. So I send in Sun Destroyer Breloom, and he goes to his Volcarona. I just go for the Drain Punch, and I realize that nothing on his team is going to be able to really tank this, and I can't get burned by Flame Body since I'm already poisoned, so I really have nothing to lose. Volcarona is basically dead. I mean, what's it really going to do here? So, he's going to go ahead and switch out and go back to his Donphan, as I obviously go for Protect. Now, of course, you know, it's going to fail, and Donphan's going to get a little healthier, but I think Breloom is going to be able to easily handle this. I don't see how it's not going to be able to. So he goes to the Ice Shard and he crits me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I can lose now. I can just flat out lose. I go for the Drain Punch, and, you know, I'm like, well, I'm not physically defensive. I can lose if he gets me again. And what do you know? You know, I'm like, okay, I'm back at 59, so I'm not going to die, and I can always Protect again. But he goes out, he goes into his Volcarona. I guess it's a sack? I don't know. It just heals me more, so now he cannot crit me, and Volcarona dies. And I'm pretty grateful at that, because now look at me, I'm pretty bulky, I'm pretty stellar right here, I'm doing pretty well. I mean, he has nothing to beat me now. He goes into his Donphan, which is his last hope, and I'm like, alright, you're finished. So he goes for the Ice Shard here, and I go ahead and go for the Leech Seed, you know, just to heal up a bit, because I do want to keep Breloom healthy. I can't really risk anything. I mean, and Leech Seed plus, Leech Seed plus Poison Heal is just, you heal so much, man. It's ridiculous. I go to Protect to weaken Donphan a little more, and what do you know? The worst spinner in the game, said by the player who used him himself, goes down. And after the game ended, I realized that this team Sogeking used was actually BKC's team from the World Cup Finals, the final game. And I was like, wow, you know, I did not see that one coming. But with that, Donphan goes down, and Sun Destroyer Breloom and Sun Destroyer Starmie go ahead and finish the game off. Venusaur is sleeping, and Breloom goes in and comes for the final nice and crispy Drain Punch with the final game. Last turn crit. And that is the game. Good game, Sogeking. I'll be uploading my top 8 game versus Blue later today. And I guess that's it. Subscribe, comment, like, please. I'm really gonna I want to see this channel get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. Please, I promise, I'll upload, I promise. But anyway, without further ado, thank you guys, all of you, for watching and putting up with me not uploading for 3 months. And I'll see you guys on the next one. PDC, out. Expect the next few games, the M-Dragon Finals and everything, coming very soon.